Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the meeting for Open Source Antibiotics Series 2 on Friday, October the 16th. I will just share my screen, which should hopefully have the relevant thing on it. So this is the GitHub issue that Dana started just today and has everything I think that we're going to talk about, hopefully. Okay, so we can run through a few things which have been going on. So firstly, we have a bunch of compounds ready for evaluation against MRSA, which is great. And we heard back from Paul Stapleton, who is happy to screen those compounds next week, Tuesday, right? Dana, that's right, yeah. Which is great because there's a bunch of compounds which have been synthesized and donated. So it's a big screen, this one. We haven't got much to say about potency until we get those data, but he is happy to, I think, at least think about doing an evaluation against another gram positive. So we were talking with him about that. He is able to do, I forget the VRE, vancomycin resistant enterococci, which would be great. So he can do that, and I think he's willing to do that with a few compounds. It's obviously, it takes a lot of effort to start up a new screen, and the building has been in lockdown for a while. So it's great that he's able to do this. And I think that would be a nice one to go for as a second gram positive. Just to remind everybody, we have a bunch of data from COAD at the beginning of this project, where MRSA was the only gram positive that was tested. All the gram negatives that were tested by COAD, our compounds had zero activity against. So we need to know whether there's something specific about MRSA or whether it's just that these compounds are currently active against gram positives. So this would give us a second screen for activity against a gram positive. So that'd be great. It's also the WHO high priority pathogen, which is fantastic. So I was in a conversation with Paul about what he could do here, and I think that he's willing to screen a few compounds. And to my mind, what that should be is basically, 2 or 3 actives, a couple of inactives, just to get a sense of whether the activity tracks.
Is there a positive control?
So against that pathogen? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that is. We haven't got that far yet, but I imagine he uses something. Did you have something in mind?
No, but I just think that, when you're going into a new assay, it's always great if you've got a couple of positives in there just to confirm everything's working fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll have one, but
I think it's a fluoroquinolone, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think, it depends what he's got to hand, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure he has one, but we'll see what he's got.
Yeah.
So that's good. And we'll follow up on that with a plan. I don't know whether that's proposed for next week, but it's a good one to start with. And essentially, if there is activity there, which roughly correlates with what we've seen for MRSA, then we've kind of answered our question that these are gram positive active compounds, I think, in as much as we need to.
Yep.
All right. The rest of these things are quite brief, so I was gonna. Well, let me just run through a couple of things here. So essentially a lot of these things have been dealt with. Mechanism of action stuff is ongoing. We're going to check with them at the end of the month. Discussions are very positive with HIFA indeed. I just can't talk about it until this MOU is signed, which is creaking its way through the system. And then we can reveal everything about that. But positive discussions going on, and they're interested in the science we're doing, which is also great. And I'm still waiting for something from GSK, so nothing to report back from here. And I don't think there was anything else that was majorly important for this. There was this.
Cytotox.
Say that again?
The human cytotox.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I did skip over that. So that's now being done next week, right, Dana?
Yes, we just have to decide which compounds to give them, and then I think it sounded like they're ready to go pretty quickly, so yeah. And
it's about 8.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, obviously the known actives, I mean, the lead compounds, 822, 821, definitely. And then something which is inactive, obviously. And then the question is, what else? So, sorry, did you say next week Tuesday, or is it next week? We're not sure which day.
I haven't set a day with them. So Paul for the MRSA assay is definitely Tuesday. And then I just told Andreas's postdoc and his grad students I'd check back in with them once we had an idea of which compound specifically.
Okay. I mean, some of the others could be ones from the screen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we wanted to wait until we got the results from Paul back, then that they would be fine with that.
Right.
That sounds like a good plan. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely want the ones we've got at the moment, right? But we could fill in, another 4 slots with new compounds. Okay. Cool.
Definitely
And then
be interesting to see what the one with the phenyl on the bottom, EGT482, will do human cytotox. Because
thanks for reminding me. Dana and I just talked about that the other day. Yes, that's a key experiment, isn't it? That we want to get rid of the 2-pyridyl in that assay. So yes, we will definitely try either one of the isomers, or the phenyl compound, or both, to test that theory.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Cool. And then just quickly on Paul's assay, so the couple of questions that we had regarding the details of his assay, just put that in the comments of the last meeting. If anybody thinks that there's a better place to put it, I'm happy to put it there, or just keep it there.
Yeah.
So essentially he said it is possible that there could be metabolite formation under that assay conditions. So that may be something to think about a little further. But he said he couldn't say for sure. And then he said, if you're comparing the UCL versus the COAD results, those differences are in line with what you'd expect looking at the 2 protocols. So that's fine.
It's good to have that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Okay, there was I hate having actually, which I haven't done anything about, this comparison between the data. Ben Perry forwarded me a apparently very useful thing from Ciprotex, right? A manual from Ciprotex, and I failed in a very clunky way to download that. So I don't know if anyone has done that work already and knows the answer about the fact that we have different units here. So Chris, last time you were talking about the fact that yes, there are different data for in vitro and in vivo, but that didn't seem to be our issue here.
That's correct. It looked like that. Well, you need. I don't know. I haven't been back to the original data. I mean, that's the problem.
To go and do it. That's fine. I should take more responsibility with my action item. So I'll do that and fix it. But Ben seemed to think it wasn't just a simple error. These are actual things, and we have to be careful if there's some sort of bizarre order of magnitude difference in the data. So just leave it with me. Okay. I think that was everything obvious from here. So should we talk about chemistry while we're all here?
Yeah, it's probably not too much this week.
That's all right.
Yeah, so just my stuff. So this trifluoro methoxy compound that Anthony suggested, so I've made that. I think I might need to just do a second clean of it because there's a little bit of baseline stuff. And then these, so the pyrazine and pyrimidine cores. So initially this bromination with bromine was pretty messy, so I kind of forgot about that. And then tried this method, which worked. There's a little bit of pyridine hydrobromide left over from that, but I don't think it matters too much for the next bits. So that
would wash out after you actually cyclize the core.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is also a salt. So yeah. But yeah, I've made this core. Not a lot of it, but should be enough to do the bromination and then the Suzuki. Likewise for the pyrimidine, so I've made this bromoketone. So I just need to do those next steps, and then I should have those.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, that 4922, it's such a pain when you're using a reagent which looks like the thing you're trying to make.
Yeah.
There's no easy answer to that, but if you've already taken it through, then yeah, that's probably the best way of getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Giada, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Why? Maybe it's stupid. I don't know. Can be useful. Maybe try with anhydrazine, like instead of the bromide. Like the instead of using this bromide. And he no, what did you say?
So,
Okay. Why didn't you try with anhydrazine and then like how can I say?
Are you talking about hydrogen?
Yeah.
Like a
with the
similar mechanism to how we made the S4 cores for the malaria drugs?
well, because that will give you different nitrogen positions here.
So you've got a 2
Okay.
carbon unit already. So in 4922, yeah, you've got a 2 carbon unit off the ring. That's in place already. So you need you need the addition of an extra carbon with the 2 nitrogens. You see what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No.
I'm guessing
You know, in some cases, there's always alternatives you can suggest for doing chemistry. And in some cases, they've been tried and they didn't work, or you stick with what works. You know? Often you don't try everything, much as though you'd like to. Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have too much new this week. So I've been wrestling with purifications. So these are just the structures. I've done the Bhakti protection of the indole. That's messy. This 3-fluoro compound I had to remake and then also I need to re-purify it. So hopefully these will all be clean by Tuesday, but it's just been a bit of a pain to try and get them pure enough for
What's
test.
your debulking reagent?
I used HCl,
In
dioxane.
so that's not dry though, is it? There's a little water or something in there? Or
Possibly, yeah.
Okay. Because sometimes you add in something which mops up your tert-butyl cation.
I almost wonder if it formed a hydrochloride salt with the naked nitrogen on the indole, and that could be part of why it's messy.
Well, it would form hydrochloride with the pyridine, wouldn't it?
Yeah. The nitrogen on the indole is not basic.
Yeah, so I've done a normal phase column on that, and I had to use ammonium hydroxide methanol to pull it down. And then, so after that, there's still some impurities, so I was going to put it on a reverse phase. But actually, I have already done that. So then it's just need to concentrate that and check whether that's worked or not. It looks like maybe it has.
Okay.
So I'm cautiously optimistic.
We used to do a lot of debulking on cyclam type rings. So to make a cyclam, which is a ring with 4 nitrogens in it, we used to make single arm cyclams. And so the way to do that was have 3 of the nitrogens Bock protected, and then you do your chemistry, and then at the last minute you take the box off. So sort of nearly global Bock deprotection, which was depressing because the molecule lost so much mass. You ended up with not much. But it was very common there that if we didn't have a little bit of additives in our debulking mixture of water and what's the reagent? It's a silane reagent. That we would see reattachment of the tert-butyl group onto something that was nucleophilic. In our case, it was triazole.
MSOH?
I forget what it is. Sorry, it's a cocktail that was nice, but
I'm not seeing anything like that on the mess bag.
Okay, fine. Yeah, it's just one of those things because you see it and it's much less polar than you think, and the NMR looks messy in the alkyl region. You think, well, what the heck's that?
Oh no, there's some aromatic peaks. So
okay.
Yeah.
If that goes through, are we gonna N-methylate it as well?
I guess it depends on how much material I end up with.
Tyler Clark, some of it.
Yeah, it just depends on how much I end up with at the end, whether there's enough to do some further chemistry on it.
You know it's going to be worth it when it's really potent. It's going to be worth it now.
Yeah.
But a great feeling.
Hopefully.
Okay, great, thank you. So what's the rough tally of things we're sending to Paul for the evaluation?
I think it's 35-ish. So there are 16 DNDi compounds from TGC, I think 6 or 7 from Northeastern, 2 from Imperial, and plus the ones that Ed and I have made, which I think is 10-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And obviously, just to state the obvious, the results from that, because the core is similar to the one that's in the top left there with the fused pyridine, the results from that screen will tell us whether we need to pursue that more, which is very helpful because we don't need to invest too much more time in that if all of them are inactive.
Yeah. Cool.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, so the phenyl compound, so the one that I have is the benzofuran. Is there any point in making the benzothiophene? Is there any point in making the benzofuran version of it for the cytotox? Because we have all of these now.
Good point, because benzofurans can make weird metabolites. Is that correct, Swain?
They can, yes, but that tends to be only in vivo.
Oh, okay. So then it should be okay in vitro then?
Yeah, but we had this comment from Paul that said metabolites might arise in the assay.
Yeah.
I think maybe a simple metabolite may arise, but not something complicated, obviously, because the amount of chemistry that can be done on it is less. I don't know. It's a good question. It might.
It'd be easy enough to make. I've still got some of the brominated core with the phenyl.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, I think it's worth it.
So I can do that.
Okay, great. It's nice that you've got the PowerPoint here building.
Yeah.
It's like a flip book of chemistry, right? That you're gonna.
Yeah.
It'll tell you the whole story. All right, I think that's pretty much the lot. Do I mention this little video that you're going to make again? Shall I not mention?
I think you have.
Let's video it in the pub. Okay. And so the other thing I was going to mention is that, which is very small, it's not a science thing, is it's just a way of keeping people in touch with what's going on. So ever since we've done open source things, I've tried to think about what is the best way of keeping people in touch with developments. And we use this, obviously, in these meetings and Twitter and things to send out information about what's happening. And that's fine, but a lot of people aren't on Twitter, particularly a lot of more senior professors are not on Twitter. And it would be nice to try and keep people in touch. And we often thought in open source malaria that it would be a good idea to have newsletters. And we sent out one with MailChimp that took us, several days to get it right. And the idea was to send, lots and stuff. And I thought that would be quite interesting. But it is quite demanding to do one that looks good, even though it does reach a lot of people and people tend to respond to simple emails. So one possibility instead is that we just every now, because there aren't that many people who are interested in what we're doing yet, because we're early stage. But it could just be that we, every now and again, we send an email out, which is a bit like this, a sort of distillation of the most important things that happen. And every now and again, we send out an email to people and just have a list on a BCC. Email remains, just really effective at getting things in front of people in a way that sort of Google Groups and other things are not. I just wondered if anybody had any thoughts about that, about a simple, low time investment thing that would allow interested people to see recent developments in a much shorter form than what's on the screen, and in a way that perhaps they could forward to people who might be interested in the project. Any thoughts?
Hi, Matt. It's Ben. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, slightly faintly, Ben.
Oh, weird. That's strange. You can hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, yeah, if you're going to do that, if you're going to do the mail outs, I'm just thinking, don't make them complicated. Don't if you mail out something that looks like these minutes, I'm not sure how many people are going to read it. You're going to need something that is incredibly light, incredibly high level, and brief, and then you put everything else in back up somewhere where it's like, you know, more from, if you're interested, go here.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about doing video updates and you put those somewhere, maybe what you do is you send out an email to the video updates.
Yes.
And in the video update, as long as you got to get the energy level right in the video, and you can do, if you can do a 30-second TikTok type thing of like, here is, you know, here's the latest stuff, but you get it, you know, if you get the presentation level right, that would be really cool.
That sounds familiar.
Are you guys allowed in pubs?
For about another 10 hours, yeah.
You got a pub that's got a blackboard on it where they'll let you draw on the blackboard. That's how I would do it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, yeah, we could draw on the pavement if it comes to that. But
anyway, I think it's an interesting idea. You're right that Twitter is brilliant for the people who are engaged with it. It's like the best way of keeping in touch with the people who are engaged with it, but you are missing a subset of the population. I guess the only thing I would ask is, you know, I think the Venn diagram of people interested in contributing to open source pharma and Twitter users is pretty close. You know, it's pretty overlapping.
Yeah,
so maybe it's more a question about how we better use Twitter, how to use Twitter better.
Sure, but I think there is still value in targeting an email to people who may not be there. I mean, I'm thinking specifically of making sure that an email has a chemical structure in it, because a lot of people who may see a structure and then think, oh, hang on a minute, I know something about that, may not be on Twitter.
I think the other problem with Twitter is it's quite ephemeral, isn't it? You're away for a day and you've missed half of a dozen tweets.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the idea of email, but I think I would still want a copy of the email in an open place somewhere.
Well, that's easy if we, I mean, yeah, if we stick it here, that's easy. I mean, you can almost make one here, just copy it in an email and send it.
Yeah.
This isn't, I'm just thinking about this, Matt. This is another one to maybe discuss with Matt Robinson at COVID Moonshot, because they have a daily update email that comes out, and it's clearly automated. I mean, there's a big difference, which is that they have such a critical mass that each update does bring something new on a daily basis. The question would be, you know, if you drop that down to once a week or you drop that down to once a month, does it kind of get lost in the noise?
Yeah.
Some of the best email updates I get are from essentially from Carbeck. So John Rex's antibiotics emails are really good. But they're periodic and they highlight key things, which is useful. So you're reading it for a reason, not just as an update. You know, there's some new development which has happened, which is summarized, and there's a lot there. So I wouldn't want to write something as long as that, anything much shorter. But there, you know, you read it because there's a function to reading it.
I think once a week would be good if we could do that.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, and I quite like the idea of it being, if you like, a comment to these minutes, perhaps.
Yeah. Okay, great. I kind of wanted to avoid going through a client like MailChimp just because I know that there's a big barrier there. Just a barrier to doing it. Whereas, of course, you know, drafting an email with a few links, maybe a picture, is something we can do in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. Gotta be low energy.
It's kind of funny that after how many years of using email, I don't know, I sent my first email probably in like 93 or something. It remains an effective technology for communicating things. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's also a technology that's heavily abused as well.
Yeah. All right. I don't have anything else. Anyone got anything else you want to raise or ask?
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah.
I caught the sort of post discussion minutes last week, and you had this question about the units Free metabolic stability. Did you get that resolved?
No, we were just talking about the fact that I'd failed to look at it.
Yeah. Okay. I sent you some reading.
I know, and I haven't. You know, I'm like the worst student. I haven't done my reading.
Is it? I mean, what? Because I missed what the problem was. You said there was an order of magnitude difference.
The units that we have. Wait a minute.
Yeah. The two units you mentioned are normal. I mean, they are. I saw that and I'm thinking, well, that's the that's the in vitro readout and then the in vivo extrapolation. You know, those are generally the two. I mean, when we get, for example, if you get data reported from WuXi or from basically any CRO, they'll for each experiment they'll give you both of those. And,
Got it. No, absolutely.
Some people will. In fact, we get 4 readouts. You also get half-life and you get extraction ratio.
Yeah.
And
no.
different people use different ones as their kind of guiding principle, but they all.
Totally agree.
Okay. This is what I was going to say. Can you show me the actual image where the problem was?
Yeah. So the problem is we have in vitro data from two places. The Monash, which is of course very familiar to us, and original UNC data with different units. And we initially thought, okay, they're equivalent, but they're not equivalent. They're an order of magnitude out. Microliter per mil, meg to kg. And so they're in vitro, right? So they shouldn't be different.
It's no, because the Monash data, that's microliters per milligram of protein that is used in the assay, whereas the UNC data, that is they could express that as a microliter per meg of protein, but it would be a different value. It would be slightly different, and then they scale that using a bunch of different, species dependent and assay dependent vectors to give you a value that is it's called the in vivo intrinsic clearance. It's not gone anywhere near an animal. It's just the in vitro correlated to what it would probably be in them.
So their raw data would have been in the same units as the Monash data. Is that right?
Yes and no, because the raw data is usually a half-life, and then the half-life that you use the half-life to give you.
Okay.
You can express in a lot of different ways, and they all come from the same experiment. They're all looking at the same 6 time point half-life usually, or 2 time point half-life if you're only doing 2 time points. Most people will do 6 or something. It's lab dependent. It's dependent on how long they incubate for. It's dependent on how much microsome is in the well, on the concentration that you look at, and so that's why, as long as the assay is I guess in theory, as long as you're correlating the same assay across compounds, then the raw data, the microliters per meg of protein, is fine to compare. If you're looking at different assays with different conditions, then you would be better off comparing the in vivo prediction, so the one in mil per min per kg, because those should all be independent of assay conditions, in theory. Bear in mind that we're talking about assays that vary massively all the time.
Yeah, I'm thinking
UNC to see if you can get the raw MG protein data.
Or Monash, yeah, but it's easy. You would. Yes, you could take either, or you ask Monash to. The Monash data has come from Sue Sharman, I'm guessing, right?
Yep.
Go just ask Sue, or ask Karen. Is it Karen? Karen's the in vivo person. Ask someone at CDCO.
No, sure.
Either go straight to Sue Sharman, or someone you work with, and just say, look, this is the deal. We've got this UNC data, which is expressed in this, and they'll explain it to you, and much far better than I can.
I guess we were on the first step here, which is to make sure it's not a dumb question.
It's not a dumb question. It's a really complicated question that everyone struggles with.
Fine.
Because particularly at DNDi, where sometimes we have tri-party meetings with, let's say, GSK and DNDi, both of whom are real experts in EDME, and then us, and our data comes in one unit. The DNDi data comes in another unit, and the GSK comes in another unit, and everyone sticks by their guns as to which is the best unit to use. And so you can see everyone's minds ticking away because they're trying to work out what the other person's value means in their units. And no one's very, very good at being able to do that quickly, because some of those conversions are quite complex.
Well, it happens in this field too, right? Where lots of people express potency in micrograms per mil.
So that's the other one, yeah, exactly.
Hurriedly trying to do the molarity calculation.
Yeah, exactly. But but my gut feeling is that generally a microliter per min per mg of protein value should be roughly comparable anyway. You know, if you're at 40 microliters per min per mg of protein in a mouse, your equivalent in mil per min per kg will be about, I can't remember which way it goes, it'll either be in the 30s or it'll be in the 50s.
Okay.
Depending on the assay and the assay conditions.
All right.
It's about the same thing. So that's what I was, when you said that there was an order of magnitude shift, I was worried that you had, for example, the same compound measured in both values, and one was reading at 50 and one was reading at 500.
So the only comparable data we have, if you notice, the UNC has the asterisk. Can I make this bigger?
Okay.
I can't make it bigger. Hang on a second. I was trying to make it slightly larger. Okay. So the only comparable data, these asterisk values, 17.7142, are from UNC, and the data beneath it are from Monash. Okay. So they are broadly equivalent.
They are, yeah, pretty much.
And if you look at the data right here, the mouse data, I mean, you know, there's differences, but they are again broadly equivalent in the sense that the smallest value in the mouse column is the smallest value in the rat, and you know, it roughly tracks in terms of order. So I was very happy with the idea that these were saying roughly the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they are. I mean, bear in mind that it's quite common to see discrepancies across species.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Rat, I mean, yeah, even with mouse to rat, you know, and human as well. But
fine.
In fact, you would say that it's you would give it as a plus point to the series if the series tracked like that. So if the microsomes were same rank across species, that's usually a good thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in this case as well, in this project, we're due to get another, I think it is 4 measurements from Sue. And so we'll end up with a bunch of data from Sue and a relatively small amount of data from UNC. So in that sense, I guess what I'm hoping for is that we can just have a simple clarification of the UNC value rather than the Monash value.
Wait, did I send you the data from the DNDi compounds? Because I'm certain that some of those have got microsome stability data.
Oh, that would be great.
You did, Ben.
I did. Now, if I have, I'm almost certain I'll have sent that to you in microliters per min per mg of protein, but I have that data also in mil per min per kg. So what I'll do is I can update it, and I'll give you the half-life, I'll give you the extraction ratio, and then the 2 different values you see here, just so you can kind of get a flavor as to, you know, how they all correlate. So they're all come from the same experiment.
Great.
Is that so? Lori also sent me the AZ data that Northeastern usually gets.
They use microliters per min. I'm pretty certain that AZ use microliters per min per mg for reporting. Bearing in mind that you can't completely correlate that or assume you can't assume it's the same assay as other people reporting in the same units, because it might be slightly different in terms of incubation time. It might be slightly different in terms of concentration of compound and stuff like that, right? But generally they all are kind of similar.
And so the AZ, that's different from the DNDi clearance.
Well, that's a good question. I'll check.
Okay.
Because some of the data we generate on those compounds has been done at AZ, and some of it will have been done at Wuxi.
Okay.
Yeah, probably those 2. I can't think. Yeah, I don't think we've really done anything with TCG as well. But
usually when you do these things, you have a positive control in there, don't you? Yeah. But that probably means going back to the original reports, unfortunately. Yes, true. And it might be different positive controls in different labs, of course. We have what we use, testosterone, maybe diclofenac. And I can't remember what the third one is. But we don't report the data unless those are all 3 of them are in the control value. Okay.
So it only ever gets validated if all 3, like the low, medium, and high controls, are within the rule. Bearing in mind that, you know, AZ, Wuxi, these guys run hundreds, if not thousands, of these a week.
Yeah.
So they're incredibly tight assays with amongst their data.
You know, we're getting the donated compounds evaluated in the potency assay this week. Next week. So this time next week, we should know if those donated compounds are potent.
Oh, that's cool. That makes a refreshing change to have just a week's turnaround. Parasitology, we have like 6 or 7 weeks from our submission. But anyway, okay, that's nice.
Great. Anything else anyone wanted to raise? If not, then thanks for your time. That's great. We'll post the recording and some action items, and we'll meet next week. Danny, you're not here, right? But we will we will probably meet anyway.
Well, we'll have results, so we'll want
We'll
to
have
meet.
results.
Oh, I might come. I'm not. I just took the day off because it's the day after my birthday, so I can still come to the meeting.
I was going to say,
we're
we could have it
gonna
on
probably,
Thursday,
once
right?
the
We could have
results
a meeting on the Thursday, but that would be a terrible idea.
once the results pour in, I'll probably end up designing some more compounds, and Chris will probably as well.
Yep, great. All right, well, it's going to be pretty interesting. Let's fingers
So
crossed.
when is the ETA on those?
Like Wednesday, Thursday, right?
Next,
I think
Thursday.
last time it took him a day or two. So hopefully by the meeting on Friday we'll have.
So when will be the next meeting?
The same time every Friday we're going for, so people kind of have it in their diaries.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another,
Okay, thank you.
another thing. Okay, great. Thanks so much, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you. See you then.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.